30M dumped by 35F over salary and lifestyle differences.
I, 30M, was broken up with by my 35F, now exgf over our salary/life differences. My ex and I met and instantly had a great connection. We have several common interests and grew a love for each other very quickly. We bonded over past relationships and how they weren't great for either of us and how comfortable we felt with each other. She is a successful real estate agent in a busy northeast city. I am a special education coordinator in the same city. We dated for 4 months without a single hiccup in our relationship until I was told that the school I am working at will be closing at the end of the year. I have decided to take this unique opportunity to spin it into a positive and go back to school and get a second master's in social work to transition my career to mental health counseling and hopefully a private practice.
This was something we both discussed and talked about at great lengths together. It wasn't until this did she start to hint at the differences of our salaries being a concern of hers. I should note that other aspects of our futures we shared similar views on, such as marriage and kids and living together. When we broke up, she said that she didn't think she could look past her needing to be the main earner in a relationship or someone that could share in the lifestyle she has created for herself, i.e. taking trips on a whim, and overall not worrying about expenses. This is still fresh for me and just looking for honest and unfiltered thoughts to help me process and move on.
Edits. Didn't think this would get as much traction as it did, but want to answer some things that have come up and hopefully add some clarity to some of the incorrect assumptions/statements made. 1. There was never a time where she would have been financially helping me with the degree, nor would I be going into significant debt to do so. We have separate living arrangements and I already have set up part-time work that would be done in conjunction with the program to continue supporting myself through this process. 2. The degree would only take 16 months to complete with then clinical hours to follow. It also is something that I will not be paying for. I have received funding and tuition assistance, so I am not accruing any debt. 3. I am using the degree to go into a career as a school counselor and ultimately private practice young adult therapist for struggling students.
Info. You don't mention how this change of yours affects the current split of activities. 4 months isn't a long relationship. Were you living together? Did you expect her to support you through this change? Does this stop the two of you from doing similar activities? That short of time, it sounds like different priorities.
Social work is something you really have to be passionate about. It doesn't pay well and it seems like it can be a 24/7 job with a lot of emotional impact that can carry over into personal relationships. Makes sense to me that she ends things if that isn't what she wants in her partner. I'd guess, hope that most people in their 30s are focused on what they want in a partner, and ending things when you know they aren't a long-term fit is the best thing to do. She didn't break up with you until you moved to social work, so it sounds like it wasn't just the money but also the schedule and availability to be a partner. Try not to take it personally and just realize there was an incompatibility between you two. This is a fairly common one, I think. It's better to find out now than later. I know some women just feel this way. It's not right or wrong, just what they want. Some men don't like being out-earned by their wives either. Honestly, it's better she communicated this now than when you two got married. When I was in college, I knew a woman who was married. She was in her mid to late 20s and had been married 3 or so years. She said this bothered her and she had developed resentment. She didn't like being the main wage earner in her marriage. With her, the mistake she made was not being forthright way earlier. I think there are several factors at play here. She's 5 years older than you, and the idea of restarting your professional life can look a lot different in your mid-30s than it does when you've just left your 20s. You're only 4 months in, and so it's the prime time for someone, if they see potential problems, To decide not to further invest rather than take a gamble on someone they haven't invested much time in, who already looks like they may not fit. I think the biggest thing, though, is that for a lot of people dating in their 30s, they have learned a lot in their 20s about what kind of patterns they want to avoid, and what kind of sense of responsibility and priorities someone should have to be a good partner for them. I would consider it a huge red flag for someone in their 30s who, upon hearing they were losing their job, would make a decision to take several years away from working to pursue a different career when they already had a master's and established career history. It would feel to me like they didn't feel at that stage of their life that retirement planning, self-sufficiency and working towards financial goals was as important or as time-sensitive as I did. Having only known them for 4 months, I wouldn't know if they were generally flaky and unable to commit to a path, and so would continue to do things like this and remove themselves as a serious financial contributor to the relationship. I would worry they expected me to finance them through their different ambitions and dreams, which are the result of them entertaining, fulfilling themselves at the expense of the relationship's combined resources. Frankly, I would worry you would be a career student, or someone who's always got the next big thing on their horizon as their excuse for why they aren't contributing financially or time-wise in the way they would be able to if they picked a career path and stuck to it. If I had known them for 4 years, and this came up, then I would have a lot more history to base my judgment on. But after 4 months I would err on the side of caution. It's fine if money isn't a big deal to you, as long as that attitude doesn't translate into your partner constantly picking up the slack because you don't work consistently or are always chasing a hustle rather than something steady and more boring. She wants someone who has the same type of financial goals she does, and is working to meet them the way she is, so she doesn't feel like she's putting in all the work for their financial future.
It sounds like you are not worried about contributing to your joint financial future as much as having a more emotionally fulfilling life. That's fine, but that's not what she wants in a partner.
You two just weren't compatible. Both of you have the right to want different things. Kudos to her for being honest and not dragging this relationship out any longer. You said you were getting a second master's in social work? That is a lot of time and money for a profession that likely makes the same or less than you did as a teacher. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, is X more years of school, in order to make less money than my current occupation, worth it? I personally made that call after taking the GRE. It just didn't make sense to take on 2 more years of debt in order for me to make less money. People don't usually look at relationships as business partnerships, but that's exactly what they are in reality. Having a lot in common, chemistry in the bedroom and feelings of love are all essential components of a long-term relationship. But, at the end of the day, bills have to be paid and your standard of living is heavily dependent on your partner. For some, they are happy just making ends meet and enjoying life as it comes. Others want more security and equal contribution from their partners. There is no right answer. So, you need to find someone who accepts your current limitations or appreciates your long-term potential, or both. Or, just date casually until you're on the other end of your career arc and see what your prospects are at that time. As you get older, you may start to form your own financial criteria for partners, which may open up more options or limit your dating pool depending on how you view things. Honestly, this was a very short relationship that ended in incompatibility. You want different things in life in terms of your goals for your future. What she wants is more stability because frankly starting over in your 30s is terrifying to her. Believe me, I know. I'm 35 and starting all over again job-wise and education-wise. You two were only together for 4 months. Keep that in mind. It sounds like she is very ready to build that future and be living that life today while you still have a number of years of school and restarting your career before you'll be ready to do those next step things. To support you going back to school, she'd have to do a lot of backtracking on her lifestyle. That's a lot to ask from someone who is looking for a companion to live her lifestyle and take the next steps now, especially for a boyfriend of only a few months. Sounds like it's pretty much a stage of life thing. What exactly do you need help with? Many people can't handle being the main earner and want equal contributions from both parties. It's not wrong. It's not necessarily right, but someone can make that choice. Different incomes can work, but the reality is that one will be putting less financial help into the lifestyle that they're screwed if the higher earner loses their job. With both working full-time, it means equal housework too on top of paying more. That's a lot of pressure. She has a lifestyle she made and enjoys. She sees that you're either taking on more debt or paying out of pocket for a career that is respectable but won't earn the same. Her lifestyle will drastically change. You also will have people calling you and keeping you from traveling on a whim like she does. This rough conversation is necessary for any earning gap relationship. Not everyone can handle them. I think this is just Celiac, made a great point of you furthering your education in a field that won't be financially rewarding, and the financial costs that would either have to pay directly or take out student loans for. I can absolutely understand where your ex is coming from. It will be years before you are earning in salary, which will give you disposable income. Your ex is 35. She's going to be 40 by the time you will be ready for children. And that's assuming you will finish your degree in 3 years and spend 2 years paying off whatever student loan debt you've accrued during that time. Your ex doesn't think you are making financial decisions with her in mind. She's ready to have a family and you aren't. She values financial security and disposable income and you don't. She sees a life supporting you and supporting your family financially. Even if you were to get married and start a family in the next few years. This would mean the following. 1. Your ex would need to pay for the wedding. 2. Your ex would need to have low expectations of time commitment while you are studying. 3. Your ex would likely have to financially support you in some capacity while you are studying. 4. Your ex would need to be the person who purchases the family home and pays all major expenses. 5. Your ex would not have the disposable income for traveling and going out with friends, as she would be paying for a wedding and a home and financially supporting you. 6. In the event you have any children, your ex would not be able to have maternity leave and would likely have to put her child in daycare while she is still bleeding. You chose a career that doesn't pay well. You want to change your career and undertake years of study for another career that doesn't pay well, even if you could find a job in that industry. Your ex was likely feeling pretty frustrated, as it doesn't seem like you are living in reality of what it takes to raise a family. The reality is she knew she would need to do it all. She would need to make sacrifices on her standard of living and financial and time sacrifices, and would likely be the one doing the majority of the caring responsibilities because you'd be too busy with studying. She saw what her life would look like, waiting until you were ready for kids. Even though she is fast approaching 40, having to return to work immediately after giving birth and paying for everything. This has nothing to do with how much she loves you. But if I was in a similar circumstance, I would feel pretty frustrated. She knew you didn't earn much, but you wanted to earn even less to study for a different career where you were still earning less money. It doesn't make sense to her. I've known of people who changed careers. I knew of someone who changed careers from medical professional to lawyer, and the thing is, they Move to a career where there was still earning potential. As a female, it would make sense to wait around because you know at the end of it there would be financial rewards, which would make sense given the amount of money invested. But in your case, it doesn't make sense financially. I also know a guy who worked as a banker for one of the biggest merchant banks in the world who decided he wanted to be a doctor in his 30s. He absolutely achieved it. But he only achieved it because he had money saved up and didn't need to work while he was studying. And his dad was also a doctor in an established career, so he had family money to fall back on. The entire time this guy was studying, he didn't have a girlfriend. He only got one after working for years as a doctor. You are wanting to leave a job that is incredibly high stress for another job that is incredibly high stress. If you don't have significant savings or family money to fall back on, it doesn't make sense. You are still quite young for a guy. It's possible you could choose a field of study that would allow you to work in a high-paid field, so that there would be financial rewards for all the time you will spend studying, and the new job will pay off your student loans. But you aren't choosing that, and your ex absolutely knows what her future will be like. You've chosen a career where you will help others. But careers like that don't actually pay. As a woman approaching 40, your ex doesn't have time to waste to wait for you to sort your life out. Her biological clock is ticking and she knows it. Honestly, only 4 months in and she thinks your lifestyles don't mesh. There's nothing wrong with that. Going to get your master's and finding a field you're passionate about are objectively good things for your life. But she is not obligated to have the same values or interests. Sounds like a classic case of your lives going in two directions and her not wanting to be financing a lifestyle she isn't interested in. I would have done the same as her. Neither of you are wrong. You just want different things. There's nothing that could have made this work. And 4 months is way too short for her to demand you not pursue a new career. She's doing the right thing saying you deserve to go for a new career, but she's not in a position to be part of it. You were compatible over things like marriage and children, wanting them, but not what that actual scenario looked like. Real estate is very image-oriented career path. It's not just that she wanted to travel and enjoy nice things. Her industry is about projecting that kind of lifestyle to appeal to clientele. People are saying you are picking social work and a path to lower income. But if you wanted to become a private practice therapist, you can eventually make a stable middle class income, while saving some slots for lower pay. It's not the same thing as being a social worker or working for the county. Sounds like she didn't want to wait for that to happen. It takes time of grad school. Getting your clinical hours in and then building clients is several years. You are looking at mid to late 30s before your income evens out. She is already 5 years older, and probably didn't want to wait until her 40s for a financially stable partner, or to spend the last of her 30s with a grad student. It's not personal so much as incompatibility in lifestyles. Getting out after several months because of seeing a glaring issue coming down the road is kind of a no harm no foul situation. None of this makes you undateable. But you do need to look for compatibility beyond more than just wants marriage, wants kids, and explore what potential partners wants their short-term versus long-term life to look like. When you are ready, you can put yourself back out there. Financial compatibility is often very important to career-driven and highly successful women. By going back to school, you are entering a state of limbo as far as financial, career stability. Going back to school is a big commitment. And after 4 months, she's probably not ready to take that risk and commit to someone who is not as stable as herself. She's at a point in her life and career that she wants someone with a similar lifestyle and stability. Issues with money are one of the biggest marriage stressors. While children would equal no more whim trips, Your new salary likely would mean that as well, unless she is covering your expenses. She likely took a hard look at what future she wanted more. One with you but without as many extras. Or one without you and with those extras. And well, it sucks that she didn't pick you. You guys also really haven't been dating long enough for her to envision picking up the slack in a heavy way. Those types of career changes typically involves a serious cooperative planning to determine what's willing to be cut and compromised on. 4 months in is early for that. Consider this a valuable lesson in making sure your life goals and your lifestyles are a good match. Not just the interests that you have as single people. So you started dating and less than 4 months later you are losing your job and going back to school. In order to transition into a very different type of work and basically completely restart your professional career? Personally, I would be looking for someone a bit more stable in my mid-30s. Perhaps that is what she is looking for as well. People are allowed to have preferences, of course. I'd prefer to be with someone who makes a lot of money and can afford to take me on lovely trips or at least pay their way. But in reality, I make a lot more than my partner and I'm the one who pays for the lovely trips. He works hard. I'm just in a more lucrative field. Before I met him, many men were turned off that I made more than them. Sounds like your ex prefers a more traditional, man as breadwinner, role too. Nothing you can do about it. She's just old-fashioned. For what it's worth, most of my women friends earn more than their partners, husbands, and it's not an issue. This is a her problem, not a you problem. Thanks for the work you do and for what you plan to do. It's important work. You already have one master's degree in a subject that doesn't pay. And you want to double down on another that equally doesn't pay? Just use your current degree to get a job, regardless of your desired field. Why put yourself into more debt for not return, when you can just get a return currently on what you already have? As far as this relationship, she knows what she wants and she's going for it. You simply were not compatible. It's hard when something that is not a big deal to you is a big deal to someone else. And it's hard when they take their time on coming to realize that. But there's nothing you can do about it but move on. She wanted vacations more than she wanted you.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.